All right, I'm going to be doing a drawing, probably just doing a drawing of Deathstroke, because I thought I'd had a cartoon of that. I'm hearing an echo. Oh, there it is. All right, we'll take care of that. There we go. Okay. It's always something. Anyway, I could have sworn that I had done one, and I can't remember if it was supposed to be one for the DCEU movies or if it was one for the Titans show. I'm pretty sure I didn't do one for CW, but who the hell knows? Maybe I did. I looked in my files, couldn't find it, so I decided to do another one. This one, I'll do it based on the DCEU, that being Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke. As I'm doing that for your, entertainment, I'm going to go ahead and hopefully this works. Do these pre-made videos discussing the Warner Brothers war. Then there's a couple of things about Marvel and Sony and all that. And then James Bond and the X-Files. So all that good stuff. So let me see if it's not playing. It's not gonna. There we go.
Well,
right,
WBD
we're
says
off to the
Paramount's
races.
Skydance bid could lead to company superior proposal over Netflix deal. Well, that's likely considering their offer was always better than the Netflix deal, But, well. So Warner Brothers Discovery is officially weighing a higher bid from Paramount Skydance, as the company confirmed in a press release that its board believes the revised proposal could reasonably lead to what's defined as a company superior proposal under its existing merger agreement with Netflix. The announcement keeps the sale drama alive as WBD continues engaging with Paramount Skydance while the Netflix merger agreement remains fully in place. Yeah, but according to WBD, the revised proposal from Paramount Skydance includes $31 per WBD share in cash, a daily ticking fee equal to 25 cents per quarter, beginning after September 30th, 2026, a $7 billion regulatory termination fee if the deal fails due to regulatory issues. Wow. I mean, payment of the $2.8 billion termination fee WBD would owe Netflix. So there you go. There's really nothing to keep WBD from scrapping the Netflix deal in favor of more money, So like, oh no, the deal's set in stone. No, it isn't. Additional equity funding if required by lending banks. A revised company material adverse effect definition excluding performance of WBD's global linear networks business. The structure attempts to reduce risk for WBD shareholders, particularly by covering the Netflix breakup fee. Yeah, that's pretty big. And adding protections against regulatory failure. I'll say $7 billion? Well, despite the proposal potentially capable of becoming a company superior proposal, it is. I mean, come on. Anyway, the WBD board has not determined that the Paramount Skydance deal is actually superior to the Netflix merger. You mean for the board personally? For them individually? I don't know how you keep the shareholders at bay over something like this. Under the terms of the Netflix agreement, if WBD ultimately decides Paramount Skydance's offer qualifies as superior, Netflix will have 4 business days to negotiate and revise its own transaction. For now, WBD emphasized that the Netflix merger agreement remains in effect and that the board continues to recommend the Netflix transaction to shareholders. This move signals that Paramount Skydance is serious about landing WBD and is willing to materially improve its offer to do so. Yeah, I think that's been obvious all along. Yeah, it's not quite as the rumor that they would go $33. But 31, not bad. So the share price, $31, combined with regulatory protections and termination fee coverage, increases pressure on Netflix to respond. Can they? Since from the get-go, their agreement was always less. The only real positive was, their success at streaming already, and they were only interested in streaming and the IP. They didn't want the legacy stuff. And Warner Brothers had already put into motion that they would split into two. Funny how that just conveniently worked out in advance. But nevertheless, they were good with that. Whereas Paramount says, we'll take the whole thing. Yeah. So, if they're willing to pay for it, then So no outcome is guaranteed. WBD made clear there is no assurance that discussions with Paramount Skydance will result in a definitive agreement or that the board would ultimately determine the proposal is superior. For now, the Netflix merger stands, but Paramount Skydance has escalated the fight for control of Warner Brothers Discovery. Well, again, the nature of a hostile takeover is to, bypass the board by getting enough of the shareholders saying, hey, this is better, And just this alone, it was already better, but this, unless you just have to count on the most shareholders aren't paying attention, really? The ones that have real swing. But I don't know how you turn this down. Who's the best MCU director? Russo brothers. Favreau's great, but Russo brothers, they did Winter Soldier. So, there you go. I'm going to win this one. See? Yeah, I'm right. Again. So, hey, what about that Netflix deal? Well, in this other article from Cosmic Book News, Netflix Warner Brothers deal crumbling. Cash bid sparks 4-day showdown. Netflix's proposed merger with Warner Brothers Discovery may be heading into a regulatory storm, according to New York Post columnist Charles Casparino, who says antitrust concerns could drag the deal out for years, giving Paramount Skydance's $31 per share cash offer a major advantage. Casparino followed WBD's announcement that Paramount Skydance's revised bid could lead to a company-superior proposal by warning that Netflix now faces a critical 4-day window and a potentially uphill battle with regulators. Well, yeah, but they got to be open to the deal once they announce that, well, it is superior. It is. But once the board says it, then there's 4 days. 4 days for Netflix to say, well, what about this? Update. Senator Lindsey Graham posted that Paramount CEO David Ellison is attending President Trump's State of the Union address. Well, there you go. Yeah. Gee, who has a better chance with the regulatory deal? Yeah. According to Casparino sources in Washington, Netflix merger with WBD is raising growing antitrust concerns, not only in the United States, but also in Europe. He specifically pointed to scrutiny from regulators aligned with former President Donald Trump and suggested Netflix's lobbying team has not yet made a persuasive case that combining two major streaming players would not reduce competition. Oh, it would. You got the biggest one, and then you've got the third biggest. And then they join. Well, Anyone can do that math. Gasparino argued that Netflix's position that competition from social media platforms offsets antitrust concerns is not convincing policymakers reviewing the deal. Yeah, it's the only argument they got, and, there's some factors to it, but they're different companies. They are. Gasparino suggested that for WBD to continue recommending the Netflix merger, the company may need to convince shareholders to wait as long as 2 years for regulatory review and approval, and that's probably the positive spin on it. It could go longer. That stands in contrast to Paramount Skydance's revised $31 per share all-cash offer, which he described as carrying far less regulatory baggage. The framing is simple. Immediate cash at $31 per share versus prolonged scrutiny and uncertainty under the Netflix proposal. Not looking so great, Sarandos. No. Gasparino also raised concerns about Netflix's deal structure, noting that part of its 27.75 cents per share bid reportedly depends on proceeds from selling WBD's cable assets. This was always the funny thing, because they were scoffing at Paramount's offers and they don't have their debt's too big. They don't really have the money. Here they are. Their deal depends on a sale of a company nobody wants, except Paramount, for some reason. And it was always the weak, sick part of Warner Brothers. The strong part, streaming, IP. Yeah. Not old legacy media, cable networks and all that. And they say, oh yeah, but we're going to make up the rest of this in that sale when we sell it off. Yeah, sure you will. That's too iffy when this is upfront and immediate. Again, how do you keep the shareholders at bay over this? Granted, I'm a layman to these negotiations and all that, but he implied that this funding component adds another layer of uncertainty compared to Paramount. Yeah, Skydance is all cash struck. Exactly. Even if Netflix were to match or exceed the $31 offer, Gasparino argues that the regulatory risk alone could still make it the weaker proposal. Yeah. Let's say he does, okay, we're going 32. And I imagine as you start out with this, that it's going to be made up on the back end. Yeah. You're now going to promise it'll make up the back end of 32. So under the terms of the merger agreement, if WBD determines Paramount Skydance bid qualifies as a company superior proposal, Netflix would have 4 business days to revive the offer. Right. Gasparino described the upcoming decision period as pivotal, with Netflix's legal and lobbying teams now under pressure to address regulatory concerns quickly. Whether Netflix can overcome that scrutiny or whether WBD ultimately pivots toward Paramount Skydance's $31 cash bid could determine the future ownership of one of Hollywood's largest media companies. Yeah. Again, overall, this is all bad. This is what Warner Brothers did to itself. And it's how many times is this coming to be? I mean, it's been sold a lot over the decades and stuff. But here recently, first AT&T, then, of course, with Discovery. And already the Discovery deal, it's obvious now that was just to get Zaslav in there, try to shore up everything, polish the furniture, and then sell it. It's not like he was getting ready to, let's see. We're going to be this company and we're going forward and all that. No. He was always going to look for a buyer. And he set this up to get the best possible. However, it looks like, because I'm always suspicious of immediately going with Netflix that came out of nowhere after scoffing at the idea of even trying. And then all of a sudden, okay, we're going with Netflix. Like, huh? And all that sort of thing. But nevertheless, I did that. And I have to assume for the board, the Netflix deal is personally better for them. What that is and what it entails, I don't know, but I have to conclude that. And now they're kind of stuck. It's like impossible to not. I mean, it's, it says, no, this is the plan all along to really get this bidding war. Sure, Zaslav wanted a bidding war to up the price. And certainly that has worked. But at this point, if there's another refusal, I don't know. This thing doesn't smell right. But anyway, this is what happens when companies are foolish. And Warner Brothers, I guess not as bad as Disney. And Disney was bigger. They had the theme parks to prop them up and everything. But to go full into the woke era and all this crazy shenanigans they were doing and the deck chairs being shuffled and all that, this is what it puts them in this position. These are the consequences of that. And Hollywood, of course, is lesser for it. This is one of the great, if not one of the greatest movie studios gone. I mean, the catalog's there. And Paramount's another movie studio, so you can kind of, I guess Paramount's the better of the two evils, But it's just shrinking. It's all shrinking. And it's sad. But that part of the story is over, no matter what comes out of this. So, that's what it is. Which is the best PlayStation? I don't know. I don't have one. I don't deal with that. So there you go. Oh, good Lord. Man. Who knew that company mergers could be so damn exciting? The corporate soap operas have been the main form of entertainment from these companies over these, 10, 15 years. And this one, man, this is a smash hit, huh? It's exciting. Oh, yeah, Lindsey Graham was right. Ellison did attend Trump's State of the Union. Yeah. Just a few hours after he's like, hey, guess who I'm pals with, So this feeds into who has a better ability to navigate the regulatory avenues or waters, as it would be, through sealing the deal on the merger. So Paramount Skydance boss David Edelson is he's already done it, and all that good stuff. Honored to have David Ellison as my guest, says Lindsey Graham. So there they are. Hey, look, giggle tee hee. The timing stands out, as Warner Brothers has said its offer. And no, he just wanted to go see the speech and everything. This is coincidence now. So yes, Ellison's presence at Trump's address comes as regulatory scrutiny becomes a central issue, and the WBD's the Netflix merger is expected to face antitrust review. Yeah. So all right, there we have it. That's the situation, and that the regulatory part is one big negative against Netflix, but the price, the bid that Paramount is making, and theirs was always better. And now it's even more better. So now, like I said, I suspect a lot of shenanigans has played out here on Netflix's side. But, it's hard to say, it's definite. If Paramount doesn't win this, at this point, I don't see how you make a logical conclusion as to why you still go with Netflix over Paramount. Now, I don't like the nature of, hey, I'm palling around Republicans and stuff, so they're going to smooth it over for me. No, that's not good. That's not good. I got no love for the Democrats. I mean, done with that party. But that's not how the rule of law works. However, the argument of antitrust troubles, just on the nature of the law and what antitrust is for, is better for Paramount than it is for Netflix. That's just the way it is. In those cases, you're kind of a victim of your own success, and that's the case for Netflix wanting this Warner Brothers IP. Yeah. But boy, they go through a lot of trouble to get these IP, and then they ruin them. You might as well just burn the money. Yeah. I mean, that's how it's been over these terrible woke years, Hopefully they learn not to do that. But, we'll have to wait and see on that. But anyway, there you go. The greatest soap opera going on right now. The WBD bidding war. What's this? James Gunn's Superman proves it has no staying power across the world. Well, we kind of already know that, don't we? Or knew it. Yeah, he didn't perform well internationally. Anyway, James Gunn's Superman didn't collapse domestically, but the international box office tells a different story. And now, Sony boss Tom Rothman is indirectly highlighting exactly why that matters. While Rothman never mentions Gunn's Superman or the DCU by name, his recent comments about the importance of global performance draw a sharp contrast with how Superman performed overseas, just as Matt McClune's insiders have been pointing out for months. Appearing on the Town podcast with Matt Maloney, Sony Pictures CEO Tom Rothman discussed whether movie stars still matter. His answer, yes, but only in the right material. He pointed to Sydney Sweeney and The Housemaid as proof. Rothman said, Housemaid, a terrific hit. That's a big hit movie. Then he emphasized what really matters. And here's the significant thing about Housemaid that people don't probably pay as much attention to. And the same with Anyone But You. It's a global hit. That movie's huge internationally. That last part is key. The Housemaid earned 65.8% of its box office from international markets, with Anyone But You at 59.9%. Rothman reveals that's what studios want. Global appeal, overseas strength, long legs. Maybe not as long as the kaiju, but, By comparison, James Gunn's Superman generated only 42.7% of its total box office from international markets. That's not just lower. It's dramatically lower. As Matt McClune's insider said, the foreign audience completely rejected Gunn's Superman, especially the Asian audience. Oh, yeah, they put an Asian in with the kaiju in there. Yeah, they didn't take too kindly to that. Anyway, why does the foreign DC audience, who does the foreign DC audience favor? The Snyderverse. Hey, remember that? Well, for context, Zack Snyder's DCEU films performed significantly stronger overseas in addition to the domestic and worldwide box office. Man of Steel, 56.6% international. Batman vs. Superman, 62.2% international. Justice League theatrical version, 65.4% internet. Wow, jeez. Because, up to 3, it's really, really god-awful. Yeah. The numbers don't lie, as the global audience showed up for the Snyderverse. Gunn's Superman didn't generate anywhere near that same level of international interest. And per Rothman's comments, that matters more than ever in today's theatrical landscape. And don't forget that Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos recently testified before Congress, under oath, that underperforming films receive shorter theatrical windows. Superman hit video on demand just after 35 days. The industry norm remains around 45 days. Studios don't shorten windows for movies that are crushing it worldwide. They do it when momentum isn't there. And just like the weak international box office and foreign fan reception, it further proves that Gunn's Her man has no staying power across the world. Yep. Plus, it just wasn't that good of a movie. It was a bit scattered and all that. It's too bad. Like I said, David Cornsweet could make a good Superman, but, well. Hey, what is the best superhero TV show? Daredevil, The Boys, Arrow, WandaVision. Now, The Boys, I mean, it's almost a category unto itself, and but wasn't that one run on too long? And but, as for what a superhero is supposed to be and all that sort of stuff, really, it's down to Daredevil and Arrow. And Arrow got stupid. Daredevil's starting to get stupid. But, man, those first 2 seasons, holy crap. You got to give it to Daredevil. Let's see. Oh! Well, we know I'm right. We do. Yeah. It's nice. Anyway, that's too bad. Like I said, Cornsweet makes a pretty good Superman, but yeah, you really messed up there. And I don't know why you clutter it with all those characters to drag it down and all that stuff. You should have streamlined it. And it's just Superman. Yeah, you can do your universe building later. Little Easter eggs here and there. That's all you need. Well, whatever. That's just one of the factors. But, yeah, there you go. International, you got to win that over. Yeah. Otherwise, it's like everybody in the United States has to go see Superman. And then it's like, well, screw the world. Who cares? Well, that's not the case, So, yeah, it's not looking good for
I do the filter?
DCU.
Okay. Oh, it's already time to do the next video. Yeah. There we go. Sony to bring back Venom as a cartoon. Well, originally. So once again, here we are at Cosmic Book News. Venom was already a cartoon in the 90s in the Spider-Man cartoon. Remember? Venom, Spider-Man character. Anyway, Sony is developing an animated Venom movie according to a new report from The Hollywood Reporter. It's an interesting pivot after the live-action trilogy, and it keeps the character alive in a format that can go bigger and weirder without the same budget limits. The report says the project is in early development. There's no release date. Well, yeah. No casting details, okay, and no story details. So there's nothing except, the IP of Venom. But Sony is moving forward with it as a standalone animated feature. So I guess it wouldn't have any connection to the trilogy. I don't know. In other words, this isn't a confirmed next up theatrical slot. It's a real project that's being built out right now. So they're talking about it. A good chance it won't happen at all. That's how these things go sometimes. Anyway, Zach Lipovsky and Adam B. Stein are attached to direct. They're the duo behind Final Destination, Bloodlines, and Sony is handing them Venom for a new animated take. That pairing stands out because Venom works best when it leans hard into horror comedy, creature feature energy, and physical chaos. Animation can push that further without getting constrained by live action logistics. Well, now with AI, it can all be animated in a way, okay. Tom Hardy is involved as a producer, along with Kelly Marcel. The returning producer group from the live-action films is also part of it, including Amy Pascal, Avi Arad, and Matt Tolmach. Hardy producing keeps a direct creative link
to the version of Venom audiences already know, even if he never voices Eddie Brock. Well, that'll be a letdown. If they do it like a continuation from the movies, they would have that, it's something they made, even though really the only good one was the first one. I still haven't seen the third one. Maybe it is good. I got to check that out, I guess. Anyway, the report doesn't say anything about voice casting yet. Well, yeah, there's been no casting whatsoever. I mean, they don't even have a story. So it's a little early, but, they said, well, we got this thing. The first Venom movie was the only one that was successful. The other Spider-Man movies with no Spider-Man all bombed and stunk. So they said, well, let's go back to Venom and try that. Venom cartoon. It's not a bad idea, I suppose. So until Sony announces a writer, a cast, or a date, the big takeaway is simple. Venom isn't done. He's just switching formats, but he could still be done. They could still say, I don't know, never mind. I've already voted. Oh, yeah, I already voted in the poll. What was it? Most iconic hero, I think. And I said it was Superman, I think. Well, I don't know, whatever. But back to Venom. It's probably their only avenue since, the live action movie. They did get a trilogy out of Venom. They didn't get a trilogy out of Morbius. They didn't get one out of Craven. They were always going to do the Sinister Six thing, but they never could get to it because the movie stunk. And what else would they get? Oh, Madam Web. Yeah, that, no one even remembers, except you robbed everybody a chance to see Sydney Sweeney prance around in the Spider-Woman outfit. I mean, it's real brief, all too brief. What were you thinking? They weren't thinking at all. So yeah, that didn't do any good. So all they had was Venom. So, and with Tom Hardy involved, or they just got to cut him a check for whatever reason because they're going to, I suppose, possibly refer to the events of the movies that he performed in. So maybe it's one of those deals, or he may actually do the voice. I don't know. Of the ongoing adventures of Eddie Brock and Venom. So, yeah, they could do that. Yeah. Probably the one project they got going might just be that Spider Noir series. It at least looks interesting, So, yeah, maybe there's something to that. But just the basics of a Venom film. It worked once. And the second one, it had potential and possibility, but oh my God. Oh boy, did they drop the ball on that. They sure did. So just don't drop the ball and maybe you'll have something with your Venom cartoon. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. But at this point, looks like the odds are better for Spider Noir. As far as, Sony goes. At least there is an actual, it's not Peter Parker and all that, but it's an actual Spider-Man in the Spider-Man movie. Yeah. I mean, they had their Spider-Verse cartoons and those did well. I haven't seen any of them, but a lot of people liked them. So that's their other mark of success. So it's not a bad idea. Obviously, there's a lot of, potential for it because they've had success with animation. So, well, let's do the same thing with Venom. But at least that's the Spider-Man series of movies that had, a lot of Spider-Man in it, but it had, Spider-Man in it. So Spider Noir has a Spider-Man. Morbius didn't. Venom didn't. And then what was the other one? Oh, Craven and the Spider-Women, Madam Web and all that. Yeah. No, you got to stop doing these Spider-Man movies with no Spider-Man. It's just the same thing with, the Batman movies with no Batman, stuff like that. No, you got to actually have the main character in the story. Oh, yes. I mean, okay, once in a while it works out. Venom, yeah. But what about those other two? See? Anyway, there you go. But at least the title's called Venom, so Venom will be in it. Just Venom, but it's like his cousin or something. He's introduced, and there's hardly any Venom. I mean, oh my God. Well, it wouldn't be the first time. Anyway, best of luck to Venom. We'll see how that turns out. Yes, yes, we will. Whoops, well, that was quick. Sony confirms Spider-Man spin-off universe reboot with new cast. Sony Pictures SEO? I think they mean CEO. Tom Rothman has confirmed that Sony is rebooting its Spider-Man spin-off universe and is coming with new actors. Appearing on The Town podcast with Matt Belloni, Rothman made it clear the so-called Sony Spider-Verse isn't dead. It's getting a reset. When asked directly about the future of the live-action Spider-Man spin-off universe separate from the animated films, Rothman didn't hesitate. No, he said, when asked if it was dead. When Belloni followed up about returning to those characters, Rothman confirmed yes. Belloni asked if it would be a fresh reboot with new people. Rothman responded yes. That means Sony plans to recast and restart the entire live-action Spider-Man spinoff universe that started with Tom Hardy as Venom. A Venom animated movie has been announced. Yeah, that's right. So, new live-action Venom as well. So Sony Pictures previously launched its Spider-Man spinoff universe with Venom, Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven the Hunter. And only the first Venom movie was good. It's just the way it is. While Venom found box office success, the later entries struggled critically and financially. Morbius became an internet meme. Well, that's something. Madam Web mega bombed and was widely banned. Yeah, you didn't make use of Sydney Sweeney's assets, you know. You're stupid. Kraven the Hunter failed to reignite interest and completely failed. Yeah, it wasn't really Kraven the Hunter, was it? You know, Rothman's comment strongly suggests Sony is wiping the slate clean rather than trying to salvage the current continuity. Yeah, you can't. So it's the right thing to do. The big question now is whether the reboot will remain villain-focused or pivot toward a broader Spider-Man adjacent universe with stronger connections to Marvel Studios. Previous rumors have said Sony is going to concentrate on Spider-Man related characters, such as Spider-Noir, that is happening with Nicolas Cage at Amazon, and Spider characters like Spider-Punk and Spider-Gwen. For God's sakes, don't do that. I mean, if it's just some silly cartoon, but you're talking live action here, so yeah, you didn't learn anything. That's actually worse than Morbius, you know? Rothman also addressed Sony's partnership with Marvel Studios. When asked how things are going between Sony and Marvel, Rothman responded, "It's great." Is it? Well, I guess for them, because they're like, well, used to, we were the laughingstock. Now look at Marvel, huh? Yeah. Sony still controls the live-action Spider-Man rights, while Marvel Studios partners on the mainline Spider-Man film starring Tom Holland. The two studios have maintained a working relationship since Spider-Man Homecoming. Up next, Spider-Man Brand New Day, out this summer. Well, maybe that'll all work out. Don't care about video games. So there's talk of a Venom cartoon, only to be followed by a new Spider-Man universe with no Spider-Man except, I guess, Spider-Noir, you know, and probably a new Venom. You know? Yeah, I still don't think that's going to work, you know. Now, I don't know that you want to spin everything out of Spider-Noir with Nicolas Cage, but yeah, you could, I suppose. But I always thought, it's the problem of having two Spider-Men compete with one another. Boy, I tell you, when Andrew Garfield did that MCU movie, he really redeemed himself, because his Spider-Man movies weren't that great. The second one really sucked. But boy, was he really good in that movie as Peter Parker and all that. And it's like, well, why don't Sony just do your Spider-Man movies with your Sinister Six and all that with Andrew Garfield? And then Tom Holland can do the MCU movie. Yeah, they'd never go for that. It's the same problem that DC has with, they put themselves in the position where it would be inevitable that they have to have two competing Batmen. And they're all one company. And still, it's like, because, it's easy for comic book nerds like myself who understand all this multiverse crap. But the movie-going audience, just like, what? Yeah. It's like, you don't want to immediately put stumbling blocks up before you even give your movie a chance. So that's one of those things they're just always going to avoid. And, the two movies would have to be really good. And what are the odds? It might just be kind of okay. That's not going to be enough. So anyway, there you go. The Sony Spider-Verse with no Spider-Man, except, Spider-Noir, is not dead. It's coming back for a reset. So, there you go. Sony CEO says Disney forced MCU strategy. No worries for Avengers. McCloin says scoop confirmed. Cyclops seems upset. The MCU's problems have been pinned on Kevin Feige for years, but that might not be the full story. Well, yeah, it never really is, but he's a huge villain in all this. Anyway, as McCloin previously reported, his insiders at Comic-Con overheard a heated exchange between a Marvel executive and a prominent Hollywood VFX artist. Both were in agreement that Disney corporate is to blame for the MCU's decline. Yeah. Ultimately, Disney is the big villain in a lot of these things. I mean, between Marvel and Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy was probably more of a villain than even Feige was, although Feige takes a lot of blame. I mean, yeah. But still, ultimately, it's Disney, The conversation was intense. While they didn't catch every word, the message was clear. They backed comments from James Gunn suggesting Disney leadership pushed mandates that hurt the brand. The frustration wasn't aimed at Marvel's internal team. It was directed squarely at Disney. Now, Sony Pictures CEO Tom Rothman is echoing a similar sentiment. Appearing on The Town with Matt Maloney on YouTube, Rothman made it clear he still has full confidence in Kevin Feige, whom he first met while at Fox on the X-Men movies, while Feige was an assistant. Never bet against Kevin Feige. He knows what he's doing, Rothman said. So a lot of this is to repair his image. It's like, look, I didn't want to make those crappy movies, but Disney made me. Yeah, okay. Rothman continues by confirming that Marvel is undergoing a course correction. Yeah. Something that McCloin first told us about the news that Daredevil Born Again is being retooled. Yeah, it was too late. Of course, the main point I keep bringing up about Daredevil, nobody knew exactly what the show would be like. I mean, Echo kind of gave you a clue. But nevertheless, nobody showed up to even give it a chance. That means the MCU brand damage is so severe that you can have a really good movie. The Daredevil new show wasn't any good. It was. But odds are, I guess if it was like spectacular, then word of mouth would have gained it more viewers and it might have ended doing better. But man, nobody showed up from the get-go. Nobody showed up. And that is a severe wound on MCU. Anyway, certainly they've engaged in course correction. Less television, said Rothman. I think it was really the television and the elaborateness of that interconnection that made you have to be so inside or else you felt excluded. It's part of it. But it's not the main beast here. You know? Most of the movies that came post-Endgame that were absolute garbage were not dependent on television. Doctor Strange was. WandaVision. Otherwise, you were a little lost as to what the hell's going on with Wanda here, you know. The rest of them? No. Now you get to the recent Captain America movie, it's depended somewhat on Falcon and Winter Soldier series. But really, Endgame told you that Sam got the shield. So if you never saw that show and you're better off not seeing it, then there you go. He's the new Captain America, and that's your jumping off point. Now, the whole concept and everything, nobody's interested. No matter how, little of any wokeness is in a movie, if it looks like it's gonna be woke, that's enough for people to leave. It's death to your movie. You market it with that crap, and you're done. So race swapping, I was somewhat forgiving for that in the old days, here and there. But you abuse that to the hilt, and you're still doing it. And you do that now, that's death to your project. And that's just one of the factors. The movie just wasn't that great. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So there's that, And besides, the whole plot was for a Hulk movie. It was weird. Anyway, that lines up with what I've been... Rothman then dropped the key detail. That was a mandate that he was given by a prior administration at Disney. And he's a good corporate soldier, so he did what he was asked to do. So to have the TV shows interconnected. Well, sure, yes, but I think it also had to do with how the plots unfolded. Now, he took full credit for what they did to the WandaVision show, which looked cool. It had a lot of potential to it. And then they had their original plot that Doctor Strange would be in the show. And they decided, oh, wait, we can't have a white man in there telling a woman what to do. And so, okay, get him out. When it's supposed to be a precursor to the movie on orders from Disney, and then this woke crap comes into play and you damage your own show's plot, and it's obvious. It drops off immediately at the end. It's just so stupid. And they had nothing to replace it with. And he's sitting there, yeah, women, Well, you took your superhero and turned her into this crazy woman who's, mourning the loss of her robot lover, and decided to torture an entire town for I don't know how long. And then you're supposed to feel sorry for her when it all went up in smoke, and the townspeople, hey guys, come on, be nice to her. You've no idea what she lost, her fantasy world. And it was nuts. And you did that. And don't get me started on Falcon and Winter Soldier. Good Lord, that's what you do to your new Captain America. You make him sympathetic with a mass murderer. Great going. Anyway, that lines up with what Matt was told. The explosion of DP shows and heavy interconnectivity across film and television wasn't necessarily Feige's creative choice. It came from above. Yeah, because when they initially did television, he didn't want them overlapping with the movies all that much. And I think Chris Gore said it best. The movies can affect the television shows. The television shows cannot affect the movies. You do it like that, and you'll probably be fine. So anyway, according to Rothman, Disney handed down the mandate. Marvel followed it, and Kevin Feige executed the plan as instructed, possibly even if there were concerns in how it would all play out. Since then, reports say Feige has fired producers tied to the MCU's underperforming shows and films, signaling a clear shift in direction. But it's probably too late. Phase 4 and 5 saw the MCU expand rapidly into DP. Characters introduced in streaming series became required viewing for theatrical films. With the content in question, casual fans felt lost. Longtime fans felt alienated. VFX teams were stretched thin. Production timelines tightened, especially when you're reshooting every movie to death. That's another factor here. Again, it's nuts. According to Rothman, that strategy came from Disney's previous leadership. Feige executed the plan because that's what corporate wanted. Now Marvel Studios is scaling back. Less will be more, Rothman added. Have no worries for Avengers, guys. Well, there's still worries because the movie just doesn't have the setup like they did previously because of all this crap. So, hey, what's the best TV show? It's Daredevil. You know, not the current one, but maybe that can change, you know. Oh, well, you know I'm right. I am right. Right, Cyclops? Yeah. See? So anyway, yeah, it's a combination of things there, I'm sure. Feige is not off the hook. He bears a lot of responsibility, but nevertheless, yeah, you can look at other properties of Disney. That's how they wanted it. And they wanted the streaming service to be the main focus. They wanted that thing to really dominate. So they said, okay, Marvel's got to be on there now. You know? And to where the movies become some sort of like advertisement for DP, you know? So, well, you all know how that worked out. Spider-Man Brand New Day bends the knee to Communist China, confirms Sony CEO. So Sony Pictures CEO Tom Rothman confirms Spider-Man Brand New Day won't feature the Statue of Liberty, following the previous films being rejected by China for using Lady Liberty. Rothman says Spider-Man No Way Home should have crossed $2 billion worldwide, and he blames Communist China for blocking the film's release and preventing it from hitting that mark. Speaking on The Town with Matt Poloni on YouTube, Rothman said the third Spider-Man movie made $1.9 billion globally, but didn't receive a China release. According to Rothman, Chinese officials told Sony they could secure distribution if they simply removed the Statue of Liberty from the film. Simply. I mean, there was just one problem. The Statue of Liberty is the entire climax of the movie, and Marvel also used it to pay tribute to Captain America. Rothman explained that Chinese regulators said, no problem, just cut out the Statue of Liberty. That sequence makes up roughly the final 20 minutes of the film, including the battle between the three Spider-Men and the villains. Matt Poloni pointed out the obvious, which would have meant cutting the ending, Rothman agreed, and added that it was another reason he refused. Rothman also added that he couldn't imagine sitting in front of Congress explaining why he removed the Statue of Liberty at the request of the Chinese Communist Party. Instead of making the edits, Sony walked away from the China release. Rothman insists that without that restriction, No Way Home would have easily cleared the $2 billion mark. Yeah, possibly, but you still made bank, which just goes to show you don't have to kowtow to those bastards if you do good work. You know, like, you can't do crap like Eternals, you know? That brings us to the next Spider-Man movie out this summer, weeks after the 4th of July, Spider-Man Brand New Day. During the same interview, Poloni joked that he predicts the new film won't feature the Statue of Liberty at all. Rothman laughed and replied, that's true, and called it a total coincidence. Given the China controversy surrounding No Way Home, the comment raises eyebrows. It strongly suggests that Sony is steering clear of the Statue of Liberty and Spider-Man Brand New Day to avoid another China roadblock and secure the release in order to make more money. What makes it stand out even more is that Brand New Day is once again set in New York City, yet this time, Lady Liberty and the Captain America tribute will be nowhere to be found. Or they'll do it in a quick cut that they can cut out for the China release. Probably something like that. Yeah. Probably something like that. So, overall, the article is based on the assumption of what he said, giggle tee he, and that sort of thing. Ultimately, they did the right thing. They said, then no, I guess we're not going to China, and leave it at that. Yeah. Whereas this one, well, maybe we'll just, we can, a couple of shots, sure, but we can cut that out, right? Yeah. Not 20 minutes of the film having to be cut out. Yeah. Plus, it's New York City. You think, the Statue of Liberty's there. It's one of the great icons of New York City. But whatever. Now, that's the Soviet Union flag. That's not but you get the idea. So, there's probably not going to be rah-rah America stuff in it. Unless they said, hey, we're planning ahead and you just keep it really short so you can cut it out later. Probably something like that. Sony to bring back Venom as a cartoon. So once again, here we are at Cosmic Book. All right, hang on. It takes a little bit here to. There you go. Amazon's James Bond pick. Insiders pour cold water on Jacob Elordi rumor. Lordy. Well, a rumor hit last week claiming Jacob Elordi is the new James Bond at Amazon Studios. Now, a major industry insider says, not so fast. On his podcast, former The Hollywood Reporter editor, entertainment lawyer Matt Belloni says, there is no Bond cast, no finished script, and no announcement coming anytime soon. Here's what's really going on. According to Belloni, the speculation about Elordi is premature. There has been no actor cast as James Bond. There has been no script delivered yet. Stephen Knight is still working on the script. They will not choose a James Bond likely until the spring or summer, said Belloni. Well, that directly contradicts the viral claims that Elordi has already locked down the role. If Belloni's intel is right, Amazon isn't close to naming its new 007. Good Lord, James Bond looks in rough shape. That's Frankenstein, of course. The upcoming Bond film is being written by Stephen Knight, best known for Peaky Blinders. But Belloni says the script hasn't been delivered yet. That alone makes a casting announcement unlikely. Studios typically finalize a script, or at least polish draft, before committing to a long-term actor, especially for a franchise as massive as James Bond. If the screenplay isn't ready, the studio likely isn't ready either. Belloni and his co-host also questioned whether Elordi makes sense creatively and pointed out that Callum Turner is a better choice, who is also rumored to be the new 007. Hey, that's him. They'll probably make him shave the mustache, though. Their main points are that Elordi is 6'5" or 6'6". Wow. Oh, yeah, he really was that big in Frankenstein. Perfect casting there. Unusually tall for a spy. Yeah, and that he's already extremely famous. He is? They add that Elordi is Australian, not British, and that Elordi may want a restrictive multi-film Amazon deal. They joked that Elordi would stick out in every room, making it harder to sell him as a covert operative. Yeah. The pair also pointed out that Bond actors are usually cast before becoming global megastars. When Daniel Craig debuted in Casino Royale, he wasn't nearly as famous as Elordi is now. Yeah, but I don't really see it. Okay, if you say he's more famous, he was Frankenstein's monster. But Elordi currently has an Oscar nomination buzz and stars in the HBO's Euphoria. Oh, yeah, that show. That level of visibility could work against him for a role traditionally built around reinvention. Baloney predicts Amazon is targeting someone in the 27-32 age range to reset the franchise with a younger Bond. He suggested it's more likely the studio chooses a strong but less famous actor, someone willing to sign a long-term, possibly restrictive deal, and an actor open to spin-offs and multiple films. Yeah, that's a tough thing there. If that's what they're wanting, and if Elordi's in demand for other stuff, he's got to turn all that down to just be Bond for, 10 years or so. So Amazon reportedly wants flexibility, potentially including TV spinoffs, which means whoever lands Bond may be tied up for years. That could make someone already juggling major franchises less appealing. Well, especially from their end. They got to turn all that down now. And boy, if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, maybe, but, well, if Baloney is correct, fans won't hear official casting news until late spring or summer at the earliest. Until then, the Jacob Elordi rumor looks just like that. A rumor. Amazon is rebooting one of the biggest franchises in film history. They're unlikely to rush it. That doesn't mean they won't ruin it. The best sidekick, I don't know, Bucky, I guess. Groot! That's all he ever says. So anyway, there we go. Probably not Bond. Yeah. I know I wanted Henry Cavill, but they want someone younger and all that sort of stuff. Although, considering the position the franchise is in, you might want to go there. Besides, back in the 80s, they wanted Pierce Brosnan, and he was already a television star with Remington Steele, and that's the reason they couldn't get him, because NBC wouldn't let him out of the contract, even though the show was set to be canceled. It was weird. But anyway, they wouldn't let him out, and so they had to go with Timothy Dalton. Then after Timothy Dalton left the role, he got another shot at it, But it's not like they got to keep up this tradition of mostly unknown actors. Plus, Roger Moore had played the Saint in a TV series and all that, so he wasn't exactly unknown. So, yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. Besides, Timothy Dalton was in Flash Gordon. He was Prince Baron. Come on. So, I don't think that really takes him off the mark. It's just the amount of work that's coming for him. If he's got a lot of other options and he gets tied down to Bond for an extended period of time, then yeah, it could be detrimental to him. The same could also be said for a person like Henry Cavill, who's got a lot of projects. And he's like, it'd be cool to play Bond, but, so it's unfortunate, but it would have been cool. Oh, well, in the long run, maybe it's all for the best, because what are the odds that Amazon will get Bond right? And they're not good. I mean, even just an okay Bond film is going to seem like a masterpiece, because you're going to expect the worst. So I guess they got that going for them. Disney and Ryan Coogler's X-Files reboot cast Danielle Deadwyler as lead. So there's the new Fox Mulder. Makes sense. Ryan Coogler's X-Files reboot is officially moving forward. The project has landed a pilot greenlit at Hulu with, Danielle Deadwyler set as the co-lead. Oh, so maybe she's the new Scully. Because I figured, why stop at the race swap? How about a gender swap, too? I don't know. The series comes from Oinks Collective and 20th Television under Coogler's overall Disney deal. Deadwyler, known for The Piano Lesson, will star as one of two highly decorated but vastly different FBI agents. The pair form an unlikely bond after being assigned to a long-shuttered division investigating unexplained phenomena. Coogler is writing and directing the pilot himself. The casting is being handled by Sinners casting director Francine Maisler. Jennifer Yale, the Copenhagen test, has come aboard as showrunner and executive producer. Executive producers include original X-Files creator Chris Carter, because he really needs the money. He's not doing much these days, along with Coogler, Sev Ohanian, and Zinzi Coogler under the Proximity Media banner. Simone Harris serves as a co-executive producer. The pilot order caps a 3-year development deal process for the reboot, which falls under Coogler's 5-year exclusive television deal with Disney. Carter first revealed in 2023 that Coogler planned to remount? Huh? You mean reboot? The X-Files with a diverse cast. Coogler later confirmed the project and teased the tone. I've been excited about that for a long time, and I'm fired up to get back to it, he said. Some of those episodes, if we do our jobs right, will be really fucking scary. He added that the goal is to satisfy longtime fans, you've already screwed that up, while attracting new viewers. Coogler also confirmed that he has spoken with original star Gillian Anderson about the reboot, though no casting involving legacy characters has been confirmed. So, that would only work if it was if they're just going to do a stupid Easter egg or some cameo or something, But if it was set in the same universe, and even though the stories are done, the whole alien thing and all that, I don't know. Who is the most powerful Marvel hero? Well, Scarlet Witch with her reality powers. I guess you got to go with that. See? I'm right again. Yeah. Well, you know the deal. With reboots, and boy, do reboots have a bad name these days, so not a good idea. But anything that has any of the aspects of wokeness, it's dead on arrival. Race swaps, gender swaps, all that, done. Hey, I don't know. Maybe the scripts are really cool and they've got some cool twists and all that stuff going on. And Chris Carter's not, BSing. Come on, he is. That it's really scary and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter. We've been through these political sermons for years. And you insulted everybody and said, if you don't kiss the ass of this show, you're a racist or a sexist or, go down the list. So let's say it's just the race swap and that's it. Or it is a continuation of it and it's later and you got these new agents. It's not going to go well. Yeah. So, you hire Ryan Coogler, and I want you to do everything black because, you're black. That's what you do. Do you really need, is your career ruined when you turn that down or something? No, I'm going to do something else. I guess. I don't know. Don't you see the insult in that? So that's the problem here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the show's, odds are not, because most of these reboots, good God, look what they did to Star Trek and all that. Holy crap. So it's probably more of the same there. Yeah. So, You know, it's like, oh, maybe they'll stumble into a couple of good shows that are kind of okay. Yeah, but no one's going to watch it. You say, oh, they're going woke, and that's it. You don't understand how much wokeness stinks. So one whiff of it, everybody stays home. They don't show up. They don't watch it. And the point of making shows is for people to watch it. If they don't, you can't make them anymore. Yeah. Hey, did it ever occur to anybody to maybe be inspired by the X-Files and come up with your own thing? That's too hard. I want to have an already established brand. Even though I'm going to tell the fans of that brand, you're all a bunch of bigots. So, you know, try to figure that one out. You won't. You can't. Nobody ever did. That's why it's in ashes now. And yet, here you are. Standard operating procedure, rinse, lather, repeat, Disney.
And that's it. That's the deal. That's what's, on the docket for those elements of your entertainment world, as it were. So, I don't know. I got quite a few images here. Stuttering John with the supposed rumor that he's running around with naked pictures of Kate Meany. Is it true? I don't know. Sounds like something he'd do, though. And, well, he may get into some amount of trouble. It would be revenge porn and that sort of thing. But I think it would have to be like, now, I guess if someone else had it and gave it to him, then it would still be, have some liability to it. But she sent him nudes? I don't know. Whatever, there he is showing off about what a muscle man he is and all that type of stuff. Guess I need to do the 5 o'clock shadow. I'll put that in there. And I guess for this week, the big deal is Rodney's, and I'm sure we'll hear all about it. See how that went. Some speculating he won't show up, but I don't know. I think he kind of has to. Plus, the thing is like, hey, don't let Kumi and his people in. I'm like, really? You think they would? Sure, John, we'll do that. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, and I don't know if it sold more than 16 tickets by now. Surely it did. Surely. But, I guess we'll find out. So there you go. The douche of the Devilverse will be appearing live this Friday at Rodney's. And all the while I was thinking it was a different place. I was like, that's funny. It's kind of like, I said, no, that used to be Dangerfields. Now it's running. I don't know the story as to why they changed it, but I guess they did. This one here is some new character that Melton may have discovered. It was this woman and her husband or her boyfriend. I don't know. He was there. And she's really huge. And she was wearing these cat ears while they sampled Doritos or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of like, trailer trash gothic or something like that. And so maybe a new star is born over at Nobody Likes Onions, you know. Whoa, this is weird. I just now noticed. Sometimes I'll get the eyes wrong, you know. Whoa. Boy, did I get... She doesn't have a problem with her eye that I noticed. But, you know, I'm just doodling away on a drawing pad while the show's going, and then I got, you know, stuff I'm supposed to be doing. And, well, I could just copy this one. They doom 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 doom. And it moves over there. But then I flip it over, and then I don't know, I guess. And it still counts as my drawing because I drew that eye. I just used Photoshop to copy and flip it over. But I did it. Me. So anyway, there we go. Maybe I'll make something with that. Or I won't, and I'll forget about it, and then years later, remember that? Oh, yeah. Anyway, there we go. That's me drawing and, you know, playing some videos of me talking about, what do you call it? Oh, yeah, Marvel and DC and the Warner Brothers. I don't know. Well, bidding war and all that good stuff. So, you know, it was some stuff. It was. Oh, yeah, the other thing. This, of course, the other story. I really don't know what Mamie looks like. I didn't really know much about her, but I thought I saw a picture. I did a search, and I don't know. But there's Vince the lawyer, and she's like, why'd you bang my friend? And I put in she was there. Now, look, there's no evidence anything happened. But it was all kind of strange, wasn't it? Is old Vince chasing all the devil ladies? It could be, I don't know. And, well, you know, it's his life. So there we go. That's, well, you know, the drawings. And, that's that. What is this style called where you half size the character's features? Half size? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it often happens with a lot of characters now, where it's a lot of exaggerations and whatnot, and then usually it's like a big head on a small body and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm stumped on that one. 8 Thompson says, the Spider-Man that was animated kind of grew on me. I didn't like it at first, but it's kind of cool now. So I'm assuming you mean the Spider-Verse movies they recently did? Because, I mean, there's a lot of animated Spider-Man. So, Nodak says hit the like button. That's a good idea. You know, on your way out, it'd be nice. Go ahead and do that. Mr. Afterthought has an afterthought. Good morning, good sir. Well, there you go. See, it is an afterthought. Why, thank you, Mr. Afterthought. YouTube C50? You know, I'm going blind, you understand. Gives me a hand emoji. And Mr. Afterthought again says, give her Doritos crumbs. Well, you know, there's probably quite a few around. Just, you know, tucked in some folded areas. So anyway, what became of that? Well, you'll just have to tune in to Nobody Likes Onions and see what the next exciting episode of Trailer Trash Gothic could reveal. Everybody is on the edge of their seats. Oh, good Lord. What are these two kids up to lately? You know? So that's my best advice on finding out what happened there. Oh, man, I messed up her shoulder, too. Look at that. It's like one's hanging down and... What the hell? How do I just see this now? Well, I put it out there on screen for everyone to look at, and everyone knows I messed up. Oh, well, what are you going to do, you know? That's how life goes. So, anyway, I got to go to bed. I'm going to do the Pop Culture Breakdown show over at Overlord DVD's channel. I'll probably... Look, I don't know that I can keep doing it at the 7 o'clock hour. I'm probably going to have to come stumbling in late. Well, the lesson there is stop aging. If you would just stop doing that, you wouldn't have these problems. You really wouldn't. So, I hope you all learned your lesson and you paid attention. So now you know better. See? It's just that simple. All right. Well, boy, it is difficult to navigate all this, but is it going to let me get down to my theme song? You know, I worked so hard on it. I wrote lyrics, and then I plugged it into Suno, and I got all these songs. Whew, man, that was a lot of work. And so, I wanted to pay off all that time spent. So I got to use them. Seems only right. So I'm going to use them. All right, have a good rest of your day. If you tune in to Pop Culture Breakdown later today in the evening, I'll probably pop up there. Yep. Talking about, well, the kind of stuff I talked about here on Nailsin Ratings Live. Those videos individually will come out as time goes on, this week. All right, have a good rest of your day.
Pop goes the culture. Pop, 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 pop goes the culture. Myths and legends.